My name is Ross Schriftman. I'm a constituent of Tom Murt in Montgomery County. I've also been very active in the area of long-term care for a long time. I'm an insurance agent and also active. I've run for legislator a couple times and county controller. So when my mom began to show signs of dementia, I had some experience in helping clients with long-term care, but you're never prepared totally for what's going to take place. So I was educated by caring for my mom, who did die from Alzheimer's form of dementia in 2009. My mom was my greatest inspiration in my life. She's a wonderful mom. She was lively. She did a lot of wonderful things in her life. And in 2005, she had her 80th birthday party. And the late Representative Lawrence Curry, who probably some of you remember, presented a citation to her on the occasion of her 80th birthday. And I'll tell you a little bit about her background and why that's important to the movie that you're going to watch in a few minutes. But first of all, let me...
Morning. How are
Good
you?
morning, Tom. Good to see you.
Thank you for being here.
Sure. Do you want to say a few words before we start?
Yeah, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. You started without me, but that's okay. Mr. Secretary, how are you? Thank you to the members who are here. I just have some remarks about dementia, and then we're going to see a really good movie. Before I make my remarks, I just want to thank Ross Schriftman for the great work and advocacy, the devoted advocacy that he has done on this issue. And you're going to see a short movie that was done down in our district. Unfortunately, the part of the movie that I was in was cut out, I think. So, but I was in the movie for a little bit. And I was not compensated, by the way. I want to remind you. But no, I was very happy to support the movie, and it's a very touching depiction of not just Ross's family, but the decisions that have to be made when a loved one, and the sacrifices that have to be made when a loved one is dealing with dementia. And I thank Ross for sharing those personal experiences with us, because it really tears off the veil with that many families of this disease, but also the experiences that many families deal with when a loved one has dementia. While it's associated with older adults, dementia affects 50 million people worldwide, some younger than 65, with 10 million new cases diagnosed each year. The total number of people with dementia is projected to reach 82 million by 2030 and 152 million in 2050. The total lifetime cost of care for someone with dementia is estimated to be about $340,000. This can put an enormous burden on families, as 41% of dementia caregivers have a household income of $50,000 or less. And we know the Department of Aging is very engaged on this, and we thank you for that, Mr. Secretary. While most associated with Alzheimer's disease, dementia is actually a general term to describe the severe decline in mental ability with symptoms that continue to decline regardless of medical treatment. Those suffering from dementia have many problems with their short-term memory. This causes many problems in their daily lives, like keeping track of their wallet, purse, or keys, paying bills, preparing meals, and remembering appointments. In some cases, they become confused enough to wander from their home, and get lost. Individuals with the disease often do not understand what is happening or why it is happening. That's why it's incredibly important for these individuals to have the stamina, compassion, and support of loved ones. Due to the various types and causes of dementia, more times than not, a team is required to help care for and maintain the dementia sufferer's health. As the disease progresses, the caregiver's roles will change. Thankfully, there are many people and organizations in Pennsylvania who dedicate and devote their lives to helping individuals, families, and those suffering with the disease. Caring for a person with dementia is not easy. Life becomes a roller coaster. But it's because of the love and the dedication of these individuals that dementia patients have support for daily activities. Today, you'll meet some of these people. They're here to share their experiences. No one should have to fight this disease alone. It's important that we honor the commitment that these caregivers provide. It's also vital that we show those suffering from the disease that they're not alone. And before we watch the film, I would like my colleagues that are here to please stand and identify yourself. First of all, I just want to recognize my former colleague, social worker, and current professor at Kutztown University, former member of the House, Tim Sipe. Tim, thank you for being here. Chairman Hennessy, could you go first, if you don't mind?
Staff of the Borough of Pottstown. I was with the Aging Committee for 15 years, I think.
12.
Whatever it was. And now I'm chairman of the Transportation Committee in the House. Thanks.
Valerie Gaddis, 44th District, Pittsburgh Airport area. I took care of my mom with Parkinson's for about 10, 15 years that she was with Parkinson's, so this is an issue that was very important to me.
State Representative Mark Gillen, Southern Berks and Northern Lancaster counties.
Representative Carol Hill Evans, I represent the District of York. I'm out of York County from York City, Spring Garden, and West Manchester. My mother is 93 this month and is exhibiting some of the early stages and early signs of dementia, Alzheimer's. So this is very interesting to me.
Good morning, State Representative Isabella Fitzgerald. I represent the 203rd Legislative District in Northwest Philly, West Oak Lane, East Oak Lane, and the Lower Northeast.
Also want to recognize our Rab, the Executive Director of the Aging Committee, and our Administrative Aide, Liz Mulowich. Thank you for being here. Ross?
Thank you. And thank you all for being here too, and thank you to Tom and his office for organizing it, and the new Secretary of Department of Aging. Thank you for being here, Robert. My mother was, as I said, my greatest inspiration. She did so much in her life, and I'm just going to briefly go over that, and I'll tell you why. She loved language. She learned Spanish in high school. When her family moved to Washington during World War II, she got a job in the State Department, working under Nelson Rockefeller in the Office of Inter-American Affairs as a translator for our Latin American allies. She was a junior hostess. She would visit troops at Walter Reed Hospital. When she married my dad, which was a smart thing for her to do because I'm here, we moved to Pennsylvania, and she raised 4 sons. She became chairman of the Soviet Jury Committee for our synagogue. She ran for district justice in Montgomery County, probably the first woman to run for a judicial position. That was back in 1975. She started Parents Without Partners. She taught English as a second language, Spanish at the high school, adult ed. She helped newly arrived immigrants become citizens. Now, why do I tell you all of this? Dementia can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter how intelligent and active you are. And I began to see signs. And as she was dying, I wrote the book, My $1 Million Mom. And then I started to think about doing a movie. I'd never done a movie before. I'm an insurance agent. But because you guys call us producers, I figured I'd produce a movie. So, and I had a wonderful cast and crew. And as you'll see, it's a quality movie. There's some scenes of the state capitol here too, and sorry, Tom, your scene was cut, but in movies I find out that it's like 5 seconds of a shot, and you might not get in there. It's a movie that addresses the challenges we have in life between a lifetime goal and the needs of our family. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the story that you're going to see. It can be anybody's story, and it can happen to anybody, and how we deal with it. We're trying to take this out for community presentations, and with the help of the Dementia Society of America, I'm just briefly going to bring up Kevin Jameson, who's a voluntary president of the Dementia Society of America, who, when we finish the film, we're going to be introducing the ID kit program for communities. So Kevin, do you have a...
Oh, so welcome. It's great to be here. Thank you, Ross, and thank you very much, Tom. So it's just great to be here to talk about a film that I found to be very inspirational. It was one of the ideas where I met this gentleman, Ross, and I didn't know him, he didn't know me, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you about your film. And, you know, I just sat down and I watched it, and it was kind of in its early stages, wasn't polished yet, and I found it to be so accurate, so true to form, that it really told the story very, very well about caring for somebody that has one or more types of dementia, because they can be mixed dementias as well. And in a short film, 35 minutes, he gets the point across that it's not easy, but that it can be wonderful as well. There are some wonderful moments that we can have as caregivers. I started the Dementia Society of America 5.5 years ago, based in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. We serve the entire country, but we're also, serving a lot of the Commonwealth. And it was because of my experience. My wife had developed dementia following a traumatic brain injury. And so she lived for about 10 years and passed away in 2014. And in that process, I decided that I wanted to do something different with my life and give back to the community. And the one thing that I'll say is that dementia is not a disease. And that's something that not everybody realizes. Dementia is the outward expression of a disease. And that disease can be Alzheimer's, but it also can be Lewy body. Somebody mentioned Parkinson's. So that could be related to Lewy body dementia, could be vascular dementia. So it really doesn't matter what the cause is, but the outward expression, that ability to carry on our lives and do our daily activities is really what dementia is all about. So it's an important message, and I thank you for allowing me to be here and being a supportive friend to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. All right, we're going to watch the movie. Now, there are some sad parts, so make sure you have a tissue. In our community events, we hand out little tissue boxes, but we'll be back for a discussion afterwards. Yes, Tom. Tim.
Before we begin,
Yeah.
Ross, could you tell us from the beginning of the movie, how much time is elapsing? What are we going to be watching? A 5-year span, a 10-year span?
Okay. It's actually focused on a few days where my character has to make a decision, and the decision he has to make has to do with politics. So it's a short time, although you'll see a flashback because he's remembering his mom and how she was and some of the things that you'll see in the movie. So we eventually want to do a feature film because there's a lot more to the story. It's very hard to take a 300-page book about somebody's life and bring it down to a 30-minute film. But we just got Best Drama at the Tampa Bay Film Festival. We're in New Hope, and we just found out we're in the New York City Short Film Festival. So I'm really thrilled about it. My mom would like it too, because she loved the movies. She would also say, I never said that. And the curtains in the corner, they should have been in another spot. That would have been Tom knew my mom. And she was terrific, and she was so supportive of me. So there's packets. Afterwards, we'll have a little discussion. There's a packet of what we do with the community events, and then we'll move over to the East Wing Rotunda. Tom has introduced and it's passed a resolution making Dementia Month in Pennsylvania. And Kevin will talk about the ID kit program for communities that they've just initiated. So enjoy the film, and we'll be back.
Daddy, is that you? Daddy? Daddy, where are you? Daddy? Daddy? Daddy, where are you? Daddy? Son? Ross? Son Ross. Where were you? I couldn't find you.
I was just downstairs.
Don't go, don't leave me. I died.
You didn't die. You're my mom. You're Shirley.
No! I'm not me anymore. Please don't leave me. Stay home today.
Okay. Just until lunch, and then I gotta go, okay? I'll make you something special from the garden.
Okay, surprise me.
Jewish chop suey, Mom. Your recipe, like you used to make for us.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lecha min haaretz. Amen.
Blessed are you, our God, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Amen.
You better get to work.
Yeah.
What's that?
Chuck.
Chuck? Oh, Chuck, your friend. He works with you. Chuck, your friend. You better get to work. Hurry home. I mean, don't work too late.
The bill would result in thousands of lost jobs, and it would not encourage the economic activity needed to make a real impact. And in local news, Congressman Brent Taylor was confirmed by the Senate yesterday to be the new U.S. Secretary of Commerce. The governor will be calling a special election to fill Taylor's seat in Congress. This is Brad Siegel reporting.
It's been one of those mornings.
Hey, you got a call from a Nancy Matlock? She said to call her as soon as you can. Yeah, maybe she's on the way to the hospital and thinks you can sell her a policy.
Mom, they're probably just downstairs. Don't worry.
There he is.
No, I can't come home right now. I have to go.
Ross, how the hell are you? Huh?
Governor, better than you. How are the budget talks going?
Well, it sucks, but that ain't anything new, is it?
Good to see you again.
Same here.
So the special election for Taylor's seat is August 20th. And as Nancy's told you, we'd like you to be our candidate. She's gotten the party's executive committee's support for this campaign.
We've looked at the numbers, and the feedback from your district is good.
Of course, financing and putting together an election in just a couple of months is going to be a challenge, but I think you're up to it. You came so close for state rep and in a tough district. So, what do you say?
When would you need a decision?
Well, we have to file by next Friday, so right after the weekend at the latest. You know what, I think Nancy will give you all the details, okay?
I can let you know by, I'll let you know as soon as I can. I just have a few things that I have to take care of.
Yeah, well, you can keep the seat for us, and better yet, you'll be a great congressman. You're the man. I'm gonna get back to the budget talks. We'll see you.
That is awesome. After all these years, it's finally your turn.
It would be great.
Wait, hold on a second.
What do you...
This calls for this. I'm in. I am behind you, man. Look, I know this guy who's great with social media, right? He could help us out, and he could spread the word fast, and we could hire high school kids to hang around corners with signs. And it's your mom, isn't it? She'd want you to run, you know. Look, with the way she is now, she's not going to be around much longer, okay?
What did you just say? How would you know what this is like? I didn't mean it like that, Chuck. I'm sorry. I gotta think.
Oh, Shirley, I don't mean to complain, but it took me an hour and a half to get here. 2 buses and a train.
Don't worry. My son will take you home.
Huh?
Oh, thank you.
I didn't have any other plans.
Who is that over there?
Oh, that's Gladys. She's deaf and almost blind.
Oh, my. I'm going over to say hello.
Good luck.
Shirley. Son. Ross. Oh, what happened? It is too early for our bath. Here he comes! Run, Ross, go! Run, Ross, run! We miss Sam too. They said they're too busy to have someone sit with her and write on her palm. Oh, I wish I could do more.
Mom, what more can you do? You're here almost every day.
I'll be back soon. We love you.
Help me. Help me. Please help me.
Ross,
What, Mom?
tell me that you will take care of me in my own house. Don't put me away.
No.
Please.
Oh, Mom.
Promise me.
You okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, we're good.
Insurance office.
Ross, man. Stern.
Marvin, how are you?
Almost as good as you. So, you gonna run?
Actually, I'm working on that. The governor wants me to give him a call on Monday.
Speaking of the governor, I told him I'd be your finance chair. I've almost $1 million committed already. Looks like it's finally your turn if you want it.
I appreciate that.
Look, with everything you've done for the party and all the help you've given Rita and me, I couldn't think of a better guy for the job.
Thank you.
When you get to Congress, I know you'll push through your long-term care tax credit. It's gonna help a lot of people. Well, whatever you decide, we're with you. But you have to let us know, okay?
I will. It's $1 million. She's covered.
Decisions.
Mom. What are you doing? Everything is open. You're only supposed to give them one can.
Don't tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing. You never came home last night.
Mom, it's the same day.
You told me you were coming home to help me. Where have you been? You're never around. And where's my letter from Walter Mondale, Vice President Mondale?
Still looking for
And your letter from Humphrey? I can't find your letter.
I will find it.
Oh.
Sit down, Mom. Please. What's wrong?
I'm so stupid. It's no good. No. I can't do this. I'm dumb.
You're not dumb. You raised us, taught English, ran for local judge. You kept this house.
That's not me anymore. I can't. I can't.
You're one of the smartest people I know. It's just that sometimes your head, it doesn't work so good.
God damn it.
Insurance office.
Hello? Oh, Ross, when are you coming home? I can't find the dog.
Mom, I can't talk right now. I'm at work. But I'll be home later, okay? Okay. Insurance office.
Are you on your way home, Ross? I don't know where the dogs are.
Mom, they're downstairs, probably.
I looked there.
I can't talk right now because I'm at work. I will be home later.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hello? Honey? Honey?
Insurance office.
Oh, hi, honey. Where did you put the dogs?
Mom.
I've been looking for them. Ross? Oh. Honey? Honey? Ross?
Stop.
Ross, are you there?
Please, stop. Stop calling me!
Are you upset?
Stop! Mom.
Hello?
Mom.
What?
Mom. I love you. I love you. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I love you too. What are you sorry about? Did you know that I'm looking for the dogs? Ross, are you okay?
I'm sorry, Mom.
What's the matter?
I love you.
I love you too. Ross?
I gotta get someone to stay with her. How was today?
I tried. She didn't want me to help her.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Close the door. You have no right to hire someone without my permission. Tell her to leave. I don't need anyone here. She can get another job.
Mom, Annie is just here to help us. Don't you need help sometimes?
I don't need anyone. I swear, if she doesn't leave, I'll leave and you'll never see me again.
I will call the agency tomorrow.
I'm not kidding. I'll leave, then you'll be sorry.
Okay, Mom, I'll take care of it. Mom, I have to ask you something.
What is it?
Do you remember what I wanted to do when I was a kid?
Become the president.
They want me to run for Congress, and that would mean that someday
That would be wonderful.
I'd have to go to Washington.
Well, I'm going with you.
What if you were to go to live with one of my brothers?
What? You want to send me to Florida? This is my house, and I want to live here with you.
Okay. Rest now.
My son, a congressman. I'm going to Washington.
Hey, West.
Mom, are you here?
I'm in the kitchen. Come up. I have something to tell you. I'm putting together your media for the election.
Oh, I mean, you're working on my campaign.
Of course, just like before. Why wouldn't I?
But because you've been...
Oh, I have these now. So I've scheduled your press conference for next week. Oh, this is so exciting. You never answered my question. What are you going to do the next time I get sick? No. 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 No.
Shirley, don't sleep. Everything is okay.
Okay, it's not okay.
Hey, happy girl.
Schriftman, you make a decision?
I have.
Thank you. By the way, Pete that plays me has been in the Pennsylvania lottery commercials. Very interesting.
I just want to make a couple comments, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion. First, I want to apologize for being late. I thought today's event was at 10:45, and I'm sorry for being late. I'm never late, so this is throwing me out of kilter here, but I apologize for being late and making you wait. I also want to mention that I first met Ross in 2004 when he was a candidate for the seat that I hold right now. I just returned home from Iraq, and he was out knocking on doors in the neighborhood. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you were just coming back.
I thought, what a great guy. I was a lot thinner then, but we came in and we had a really good talk, and I was very happy to support him and put a sign on my lawn. But I could tell early on what a great individual he was, and I could tell that he had compassion for a lot of the issues that I was concerned about, adults with special needs and seniors that are struggling and disabled veterans and so forth. So we kind of hit it off from the beginning. But I just want to, Ross, I want to thank you for really, as I said before, taking the veil off this issue. And, you know, as policymakers, and I want to commend my predecessor as chairman of the Aging Committee, Representative Hennessy, for the great work that he's done. But, you know, sometimes we don't get a chance to see up close and personal some of the issues and the challenges that families deal with in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, dealing with issues relating to aging and so forth. And we saw a short movie here that really is very emotional, and you could see the difficult sacrifices that have to be made when caring for a loved one. And it would have been very easy for Ross Schriftman to find a very high quality facility or home where his mom could have lived very comfortably and have been cared for with great compassion and professionalism. And but Ross was true to his promise to his mom to care for her at home, and that's what he did. And I thank you for the great example that you have shown, Ross. And I thought maybe we could have a discussion now, maybe have some of the stakeholders share some information with us. And Mr. Secretary, that would include you or your staff, if you would care to do so. And Kevin, anything relating to dementia. And Ross, maybe I'll turn it over to you. I just have one question.
Yeah.
Was the actress that played your mom, was it two women or was it one?
One woman.
Okay.
Susan Moses, who lives in the main line, played my mother.
That's very good.
And for those who know Vince, his daughter Liz was the governor's aide that was standing behind him. The quiet one. The quiet one, yeah. So, Kevin, you want to come up too? After we have a little discussion, I'd like Kevin to tell you briefly about the ID kit that the Dementia Society has put together, which will help families and people living with dementia. So why don't I start out with questions about the film and the story, and then we can go into a few minutes about dementia, and then we'll move over to the Rotunda East Wing for the...
Secretary, if you or any of your staff want to share anything, I know you're doing a lot with dementia and other issues as well. Please feel free to.
Sure,
Okay.
happy to share. Last Thursday, actually, we re-engaged the Alzheimer's disease and related disorder task force that was initiated last year. And it's been 6-7 months since that group got together, but we had a very good day, and by the end of the day, the task force agreed to, within the next 2 months, take training to develop dementia friends, and then there's another set of training to become dementia champions, with the overall goal of trying to get at least one dementia champion in every county, so that we could start kind of a grassroots effort to really build on a dementia-friendly community. We have one task force member, Jennifer Holcomb, who has done great work in Hanover, and she will be demonstrating or sharing what she's done to be successful in Hanover. So that's going to get underway within the next 2 months, the training part of it, and then in November we'll be working on a forum that should have taken place in November but was canceled because of that early snowstorm. So a lot of good energy, and hopefully we're going to get some really good traction over the next 2 months on this initiative.
Thank you, Secretary.
Ross, we describe Alzheimer's disease and related disorders as being a global phenomenon. Are there parts of the world that are affected more with it than others?
That would probably be border.
Sorry, I was just here.
Oh, about whether different parts of the world are affected different ways by dementia.
The occurrence or the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, So a couple things to kind of set a baseline, and we have a representative from the Alzheimer's Association here today, so that's great. So Alzheimer's does not necessarily appear in the same prevalence in all parts of the world. That's number one. But it is a changing landscape. So I won't speak on behalf of the Alzheimer's Association because for the most part, they're kind of the experts in Alzheimer's. But in terms of dementia, which is the umbrella term, you have Lewy body dementia, which is on the Parkinson's spectrum. You have vascular dementia. You have frontotemporal dementia. You have a number of different types of dementia. And certain parts of the world, whether it's a dietary issue or a genetic issue, certain parts of the world have kind of more of a higher prevalence for different types of dementia. And not all dementias are related. So although we use the term sometimes, Alzheimer's and related dementias, not all dementias are related to Alzheimer's. Does that help answer a little bit of the question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, sometimes you hear that diet, can be a significant improver of the situation.
In my mother's,
In other kind of, weight loss areas and things like that, obesity is.
It really gets into kind of the flip side of the story, which is the brain health story. And when we talk about, there's nothing that can prevent or reverse any type of dementia as we know it today. That's the first thing to understand. But we can look at our risk factors for dementias. So a lot of risk factors for dementia are cardiovascular health, as an example, or diabetes, even lung cancer and smoking, can be a risk factor. Education or lack thereof can be a risk factor for various forms of dementia. So it's kind of the flip side of the coin. So as Ross kind of said at the outset, you can be intellectual, you can be socially engaged, you can do all the things that are kind of right, and still end up with some form of dementia. Dementias that come from traumatic brain injury, what a lot of the soldiers are coming back with. You have TBIs, and they lead to brain inflammation, which can lead to a dementia. So the idea is to manage your risks. I saw out when we were coming in a group with bicycles, and I think they were talking about helmets. So that's a great way to minimize or at least approach your risk factors for brain injury and cognitive difficulties. By wearing a helmet, by wearing a seatbelt, not going up ladders when you're not able to stand on the top of a ladder. So the issue is that there are a lot of contributing factors to what cause various dementias, including genetic factors. So some of it is based on genetics, but most of it is both nurture and nature. And so you want to reduce your risks, and at the same time you can't eliminate your risks.
In the height of the medical marijuana, is there any evidence to prove that any type of medical marijuana is being used either to slow or to treat someone with dementia?
I'll answer it again.
I don't
Okay.
know the answer
So,
to that.
the issue of medical marijuana in general, right? CBD and THC and all of those. So there is a lot of work being done in this area. There are some people that find that, THC is helpful for themselves or the person they're caring for, or CBD is helpful. Some take it orally, others, put it on their skin and so forth. Others eat, candies with it or something. At the end of the day, the science isn't 100%. I think there are risk factors on both sides of the coin, right? And clearly they've shown that a lot of marijuana use at a young age can lead to cognitive difficulties at an older age. But when it comes to quality of life, I'm a firm believer, having lived through it with my wife, and of course Ross knows living through it with his mom, and others here have lived through it in other caregiving capacities. When you get to near the end of your life, it's really about quality, not quantity. So I probably lean a little bit toward, you know, the okay use of a medical marijuana or marijuana in general, if it's to the betterment of the quality of life. But there's a lot of hard science that still has to be done.
Well, of course, I've known Ross for a long time, so I'm a little biased, I guess. But first of all, it was very classy that you gave a credit to Nora, your mom's caregiver.
Yeah, I miss her very much. She was like my sister. Unfortunately, she died last March of myeloma, blood cancer, and so she never saw the film. And she's also not in the short, so she was upset with me. She's just like, I'm not in the movie? I said, well, your part doesn't come in until Ross decides, and the movie ends before then. As I said, we want to do a feature, but I could not have cared for my mother at home without Nora. And Kevin talks about quality of life for the caregiver too. If you're trying to do it all by yourself, you're not going to have quality of time with your loved one, because you're going to be doing all those activities of daily living, assisting them, and the instrumental activities of daily living, shopping, medicine pickup, all of this stuff. Well, when I had Nora and she was the fourth caregiver we had. We got some temporary people in and some different things. When I came home, I had quality time. Of course, my mother would kick Nora out of the room. So I don't want to talk. Nora would be trying to tell me something about their day, and my mother would go, blah, 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 blah. She'd try to interrupt us because she wanted my time and not with Nora. But if you're trying to do it yourself, and I find men, older men, taking care of their wives, sometimes they won't let anybody help them. And I have clients who have long-term care insurance and drive their sons or daughters crazy because they don't pull the trigger on the policy, getting somebody in to help them, because they feel that they're giving up on their wife, their loved one. And they're not. They can't possibly do 24/7 care. They need help. They can't do it all by themselves. Yeah, I couldn't have done it without Nora.
The other thing I wanted to mention, just as since you're an insurance agent, I think it underscores the importance of preparing ahead, of looking for long-term care insurance when you're young enough to be able to afford it.
Yeah, my mom and I did planning 20 years before. We did power of attorney, we did the insurance. I paid for her insurance for her. She died 2 weeks after her benefits ran out. So she used every dollar of her policy. And she didn't live, it wasn't $1 million. That was part of the scene in the movie, but it was substantial. But if somebody's premiums go up because of long-term care rate increases, it's my mother's fault. So, yes.
Do most long-term care insurance policies cover home care, or would you have to get a special rider on the policy?
In fact, in Pennsylvania, any new policies have to be, quote, comprehensive. They have to include home care and community nursing care as well, assisted living. Policies have generated over the years, because originally they were just nursing home policies. But, you know, and by the way, it's important to know, and we do this when we do our community events, that nobody should feel guilty if they cannot provide care for their loved one at home. If they have multiple conditions, if they're comorbid. My mother only had Alzheimer's. And plus, you have to have a support system at home. It's like running a one-person assisted living. It's not cheaper. Home care is not cheaper, because when you look at the ledger, you may only be looking at that home care agency's cost and not all the living expenses and all the other things that go into it. And comparing that to a nursing home or assisted living, it's not the same thing. They're totally different things. It may be the appropriate place for somebody. They may want to remain at home, but it might not always be able to be done. And it costs a lot more than you ever think it. That's part of the title of the movie. The other part was my mother was priceless, but that the cost, if she had lived a long time, it could easily cost $100,000 a year. The caregiver was $70,000, not including all my time. you know, and you saw the scene where she kept calling. She did that. She called me one day 30 times. I didn't bang the phone. That was Pete's idea. But I curled up on the floor one day. I couldn't work. She kept calling over and over and over again. So we incorporated how the caregiver feels about that, and that's called presenteeism. When you're trying to work, but your mind is on your family situation. We all go through that from time to time in our lives.
I can also add just my own personal experience because I was a lot younger, obviously. Most people whose spouses get dementia are typically older, but they don't have to be. Dementia can start at much younger ages than most people think. But I ended up with in-home care, ultimately with somebody living in the house. But ultimately, my wife fell on the stairs, and I was probably 10 or 15 feet from her. And she dislocated her fingers, and she was in pain. She couldn't communicate. I put her fingers back in, and I thought to myself at that point, I've got to get her into a community that's going to really care for her in a way that I can't, just even with in-home care. And when I brought her into it, actually, Neshaminy Manor, some of you have heard of Neshaminy Manor, it's county-run facility, and it's phenomenal, and they have a dedicated dementia area. And when I brought my wife in there, she was a very social person, very outgoing, very gregarious. It was like a weight was lifted off of her shoulders. She went in and she just blossomed in a way that I couldn't have predicted. And all of a sudden she was social again with others. She wasn't isolated in our house. It wasn't just me and her and the caregiver. And we had caregivers, turning over as well. So there are times when it just makes so much sense for that person to be in a care community because they really get the care. And then I could become a husband to the degree that she recognized me as her husband. I could become a husband again. And I could at least know, and she could know, that we loved each other and that I could care for her in a different way. And that made a truly big difference in our lives.
How old was your wife when she was diagnosed, Kevin?
She was in her late 50s.
Do you want to mention the
I do
the
have
ID
a
kit?
question, if I could
Yeah.
pose this. I saw in the film that when your mom found out that you were going to run, that she rallied, she was planning your press event. Is that normal for someone who has struggled with dementia to have a...
If there's something in their background I mean, we used to take her, by the way, again, it's a 30-minute movie, and as Representative Hennessy mentioned, what period of time? Well, after I made the decision to care for her at home, we had many joyful times where we'd go and do things that she enjoyed doing, going to the movies, going to a political rally. We would just make sure she had a lot of potato chips so she didn't interrupt the speaker she would be eating while, I think it was Josh Shapiro came to a picnic one time, and it was, we made sure that she was okay. But she would rally. We took her to funerals, okay? And people didn't even know she had dementia, because what would happen is the next day they call and I go, "Oh, I was talking to your mom." I said, "Do you know that she has Alzheimer's?" "No, I had no idea," because she rallied, she was doing things, she was focused. When my older brother had cancer, my other brothers were afraid to tell her, and she got really angry. She said, "That's my son, I want to see my son." So I took her to Fox Chase, and it was one of her better days. I'd take her to the office because she felt like she was helping me. So yeah, I mean, they don't want to feel isolated. They don't want to feel dependent. And that's part of the problem early on, as you saw that scene when I hired an aide. That was almost word for word what my mother said. So I got a nomination for screenwriting. I should have given it to Mom. But yeah, it was, it's very hard. But then also, as we're going to just mention, is because people mask those things, if they're going shopping or something, or they go out of the house, people may not know because they may mask what their situation is. So that's why the Dementia Society of America has put together this new program. So do you want to mention that?
Sure. Also, I got to correct my wife's age. She was actually in her early 60s, now that I think. It's been a while. So as Ross mentioned, we had, examples come in all the time. We operate a toll-free number, 1-800-DEMENTIA. So people can call 1-800-DEMENTIA and get answers to questions, right? Basic questions, basic answers. And it's not unusual for people to say is, you know, my mom or my husband or my wife, or we've even had calls about sons and daughters. I mean, we're talking about people in their 70s and 80s calling about their sons or daughters with dementia. Get lost, get on to the turnpike and not be able to get off, and go from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh and then don't know where they are. So, and there are also times when people can't communicate, because as dementia progresses, most dementias can really affect one's ability to speak. And as somebody gets to that point, somebody can be asked a question and not be able to answer who they are even, or where they live. So it's one of those things where elopement is what it's really called technically, but some people call it wandering. But people really aren't wandering. Wandering is kind of wandering like, I'm just going to go wander and take a stroll. It's not really wandering. People have an objective. They may be going to work. They may be getting dressed and getting their briefcase. They may be going home. They may be 75, 85 years old, and they want to go home because in their mind they're still in elementary school or junior high or high school or college. So it's a challenge. And you know, basically, we decided to take a look at this and how could we help the community. So there are medical alert bracelets. Most everybody has seen the traditional medical alert bracelet. This is my wife's medical alert bracelet. I carry it with me. And you know, so there are these bracelets. You see them. You go into CVS. You go into Walgreens. You can go at Art Magazine or whatever. You can see they're for sale, and they're, you know, $50, $60. Some really inexpensive ones are maybe $20 or $30. But what we wanted to come up with was a kit that a caregiver or the person living with dementia, I mean, it really depends. You know, people living with dementia are very capable as well, and you kind of see that from time to time where they can absolutely do things themselves. So we created an identification kit, and for the most part, what it is it's tied in. Some of you can see the watch, and there's a little red band on there. So this is called a QR code. You've probably seen these on, you know, different things that you work with. But any first responder with a smartphone can look at a QR code with their phone, not opening an app. There's no app required. They just open their phone and point their camera at this, and it will bring up the person's photo and their name and a contact person. And it's really quick and it's really easy. And if they don't wear a watch, if for some reason they don't wear a watch, they might have keys with them. So their keys can have that QR code. They might even have something on the refrigerator. People have seen File for Life. Has anybody ever seen that? It's like a plastic prescription bottle that goes in the refrigerator. So you can actually put a card on the refrigerator, and again, there's that QR code. So a first responder can get that information. So all of this information can also be put on a temporary band, kind of like a hospital band, but temporary. And or it can be put on their clothing, so it can be tagged to their clothing. And at the end of the day, we're going to be giving away these to at-risk individuals and their caregivers. And we're going to do like a kind of a get one, give one. So if somebody wants to actually buy it for themselves, we're going to end up giving one as well to somebody who's at risk. So here in the Commonwealth, we're committed to over 1,000 kits just in the Commonwealth.